Hello everyone and welcome to another very special instalment of our Q&As in the run-up to our collaborative event with the Progmatic team on April 18th. In this event we'll be hosting Anthony Pappa, Aubrey Fry, myself and of course the Progmatic boys Ashley and Jordan. So without further ado, today I'm joined with a very special guest, Aubrey Fry himself. So Aubrey, thank you very much for coming on with us today. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. So when me and Progmatic were sort of chatting about our booking in the first place, we thought that a real standout moment for us when we were discussing kind of your sound and what we've loved most about you so far was your transitions guest mix a while back. So where did you kind of draw inspiration to create that sort of unique and cinematic sound that we could all hear in that mix?
That's interesting. That's an interesting question because I don't think I've ever been asked about that before. And I'm glad you have because it was a real joy to do that. Obviously, being asked by John to do anything is great, but a transitions mix for me was really kind of it's a bit of a high point in my life, really. But at the time, I mean, it was just sort of post. Well, it was just coming out of COVID, really, and uh, it was a time of great music exploration, really, because there was so many people like myself, either getting back into it or just having more time, you know, making music rather than being on tour. So a lot of established artists were back in the studio recording and creating amazing stuff. A lot of up and coming new emerging talent came from COVID. So really, I was really getting stuck into Bandcamp and just sort of diving deep into what was going on at the time. And I found that that there was a real sort of synergy in kind of my background and which is in film actually, and a real love of cinematic score. And so I did with that mix. You're right. I tried to kind of create a kind of narrative and journey and across genres, because I mean that's something that I've always really appreciated is DJs like, for example, Laurent Garnier. He's a prime example of this, who kind of takes you not on a kind of linear journey, which has its place, and I'm a big fan of kind of a very linear set as well. But his sets take you on a real journey through genres, and yeah, there's ups and downs, and that's what life is about, really. At the end of the day, ups and downs. So yeah, that's kind of where I kind of drew my inspiration was listening to this sort of wealth of amazing music. And naturally, for me, I get drawn to a kind of cinematic sound. So I hope that answers your question.
No, that answers the question absolutely beautifully. And myself as a
Yeah,
producer, I find that cinematic sound extremely inspiring.
yeah,
So obviously, thank you very much for the
cool.
music and of course that mix. And
That's all
thank you very
right.
much for that answer as well. So that kind of leads on to our next question quite nicely. So as an artist, for those that have kind of watched you, for those that have listened to your mix before, we know how good you are behind the decks and we know how good your productions are equally. So we really want to know, who are your inspirations and idols when it comes to DJing and being a producer?
Well, definitely the boys, Sasha and Digweed. They're obvious candidates. Mainly from back in the. I mean, my first sort of introduction to a really high quality DJ mix was John Digweed's Renaissance 2 CD, or mix collection, which was just groundbreaking in my opinion. But then also the Exposure 2, the breaks, the kind of down tempo break CD on that is just a mind bender. And then again, Laurent Garnier, absolute legend. He'll play anything from jazz, funk, disco to through to techno, and then drum and bass. So it's I think that's an amazing uh, place to be if you can go on a journey like that. I know there are a few people in the prog scene that can do that as well. I'm thinking. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of young up and coming producers that in the sort of Anjuna field that kind of take you on that sort of journey as well. So yeah, um, uh, I forget one of their names actually. Uh, no, I've forgotten it. But it's yeah, there's so many new guys coming through. Um, I'll have to come back to you on that one.
Yeah,
But
please.
yeah, yeah. So Laurent Garnier, Sasha Digweed, huge inspirations of mine. And then also people like the kind of Jeff Mills on the more techno side of things. Just for his skill with behind vinyl decks, absolutely brilliant, amazing to watch and listen to. And then also Dave Clark for me is a fantastic DJ, again on the techno side of things, but comes from a hip hop background, so turntablist at heart, but also is so entertaining because he's just constantly doing stuff and kind of that's also a big inspiration to me is people that can switch things up and change gears, and he certainly does that. So yeah, there's a few for you.
Yeah, nice. Thank you very much. And obviously, so obviously a rich collection of obviously inspirations obviously led to a rich collection of some really nice accolades for yourself in your career as a DJ and a producer so far. But out of everything that you've kind of achieved so far, which would you say is your proudest achievement out of all of them?
Good question. It's probably yet to come. Um, but so far, um, I'd say probably actually DJing at Bedrock is probably one of my my biggest things. DJing at Bedrock in London was just huge for me. Coming from originally from a DJ background, I started as a DJ. I learned to write music quite quickly after that, or kind of almost in series. But yeah, from a very much a DJing start, it was really good to finally, play for one of my absolute idols in his, highly respected night that I used to actually go to on a monthly basis. I used to go down to the Bedrock at the beach in Brighton every month, first Friday of every month at the Beach Club in Brighton. I was there without fail. So to actually, and actually, weirdly, back in those days, I think I handed John two mix CDs of mine at the end of a couple of the nights, but I never put my name on anything back then. I was, young and just I guess a bit starstruck at that point. But yeah, to finally play at Bedrock was huge for me.
Amazing, amazing. And I think obviously we've talked a lot about now about kind of your inspirations and what's inspired your sound so far. And I think it's fair to say for young producers like myself that are emerging and coming through right now. Obviously, I'm 24. Our inspirations are obviously yourself, people like Papa that we've booked. So for me to play alongside with you, obviously on the April 18th, is a huge honour for me. So you guys obviously inspire us now. But what advice could you give, or what would be the most valuable piece of advice you could give to the young producers that are wanting to contribute to our progressive scene now?
Well, it's really good to see so many young people coming through. People like yourself. Um, Lloyd Barwood is another guy. He's doing really well at the moment, and absolutely amazing to see. And there's tons of young talent like yourself. So that's really nice to um, and I would, I mean, the biggest bit of advice really is just be nice, be a good person, and good things will happen for you. My favorite saying in the world at the moment is "Don't be a can't." You can always do stuff if you put your mind to it, and there's a sort of obviously double meaning to that, but just don't be a can't. Be a you can do it, and things will happen. You just got to keep trying. Spend every moment uh, making sure that you know your craft, whatever that be, DJing, production, a live show, even promoting, whatever your forte is, just spend every single spare second of your life doing it, and you will succeed. And that's just, I mean, that's the biggest bit of advice really, is just keep going.
Yeah, thank you very, very much for that. I'm sure myself and a lot of
That's right.
young producer can take a lot of value from that advice. So thank you for offering that. So obviously this is
No
a
worries.
quick fire Q&A. We don't want to take up so much of your time, as you know you're a busy man with a busy schedule. But before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to say to the people of Progmatic and the newly founded Gaia before you come and play for us in Manchester? And what can we sort of expect from your set on the night?
Well, I'm very much looking forward to it, and obviously seeing my brother Papa, um, my brother from down under. He's an amazing guy to play with, and actually, I'm quite pleased. I'm playing before him this time. Last time I played with Anthony was at Diage in Sao Paulo, and I was playing after him, and it was like, it was quite daunting. I stood there for 3 hours watching him play, and he just absolutely destroyed the place. And although I did a great job afterwards, I'm told I did a great job. Um, it was quite daunting to play after Anthony. So it's nice to be able to warm up for him. I've got loads of unreleased material that I'll be playing on the night, loads of new stuff. So I'll be really looking forward to playing that, and also playing for the Progmatic guys finally. It's been been a long time coming, and I've been dying to do it. So I'm really excited about it all, and I'll see you all on the dance floor.
Yeah, we'll see you there on the 18th of April, Aubrey. Well, thank you very much for obviously taking the time with us, and we'll see you there.
Thanks very much, mate.
Thank you, mate. See you
Bye.
later. Bye, bye, bye.